Hi guys, how are you today? I have a book for you called What Lives in a Shell by Kathleen Weidner Zoehfeld, illustrated by Helen K. Davie. Do you know what this is? It's hard as a stone, but it's not a stone. It's smooth like glass, but it's not glass. It's hollow inside like a cup, but it's not a cup. It's a shell. An animal made it. The shell was the animal's house. You live in an apartment building or a house. That's your home. Your home keeps you safe and warm. Lots of animals have homes. Birds build nests. Ants make tunnels underground. A bear likes to live in a cave. Here is the animal that lives in this kind of shell. It is a land snail. A land snail is born with a tiny shell. As long as the snail lives, it keeps on growing. As the snail grows, its shell grows with it. The shell keeps the snail safe. That's the snail's foot, its shell, its eyes are on top of its antenna, its head, its mouth, and tentacles for smelling and feeling. You can go inside and outside of your house. You can run to the playground. You can wait outside for the bus. A snail never leaves its home. It takes its home with it wherever it goes. The snail pokes its soft head and its one big foot out of the openings in its shell. It uses its foot to inch along. A snail is slow. Birds like to eat snails. When a bird or other enemy comes around, a snail can't run away. It pulls its head and foot inside its shell and closes the door. The snail is safe. Other kinds of animals live in shells too. Shells come in many shapes, colors, and sizes. Turtles live in shells. A turtle's shell can be bumpy or smooth. Most are rounded on top and flat on the bottom. Baby turtles have little shells. As the babies grow bigger, their shells grow bigger too. A turtle has 4 legs. It pokes its legs, head, and tail through the openings in its shell. Even though it has 4 legs, a turtle is slow. Have you ever had a turtle race? If a frog and a turtle were in a race, who do you think would win? What about a cat and a turtle? If a turtle sees a cat, it might be frightened. It may think the cat wants to eat it. A turtle can't run as fast as a cat. The turtle pulls its head and legs and tail into the shell. The cat pats the turtle with its paws, and the turtle won't come out. It's safe inside its shell home. When you go to the seashore like I am now, you can find many different kinds of shells. If you look at the sand right here where I am, there are lots of different shells on the ground. You might see a crab walking on the sand. A crab has 10 legs. On its front legs are 2 claws. A hard shell covers its claws and the rest of its body. A crab's shell fits it like a suit of armor. The armor helps keep the crab safe from enemies. But just like you outgrow your favorite t-shirt, a crab outgrows its shell. When it gets too tight, the crab pulls itself out. Underneath is a new shell. You might find snails buried in the sand. Some of them don't look much like the land snails. Whelks and conchs are types of snails that are found only by the sea. Here are some different kinds of sea snail shells. The Pacific coast has a dire whelk, a Santa Barbara spindle shell, a western ribbed top shell, and Kellett's whelk. The Atlantic Ocean, where I am, has the pale northern moon snail, Junodia volute, a giant Atlantic pyram, and a hawk-winged conch. Have you ever seen a sea snail? A snail shell walking along on crab legs? A hermit crab has hard claws in the front, but the back end of its body has a soft shell. Its shell is too soft to keep it safe from its enemies. A hermit crab lives in an empty snail shell. After a while, the hermit crab grows too big for his shell, so he looks for a bigger one. Some are too big, some are too small. Finally, he finds one he likes. He throws away the old shell and crawls into the new one. Now the new shell is his home. The snail shell helps keep him safe. You can look for clam and oyster shells at the beach too. Clams and oysters are animals. They don't have legs. They don't have heads or tails. Their bodies are soft, but they are animals. Clams and oysters grow two hard shells. The top shell and the bottom shell look almost alike. The two shells are connected by a hinge. Scallops also have two shells. Here are some different kinds of scallop shells. A lion's paw scallop, a zigzag scallop, Ravenel's scallop, giant Pacific scallop, San Diego scallop, the Atlantic deep sea scallop. These are the oysters, or clams and oysters. Clam shell, oyster shell outside. There's the inside of the oyster shell, the clam shell inside, and the clam shell's hinge. Most clams and oysters hardly move at all. They open up their shells to take in food and water. They close their shells tightly when enemies are around. Some scallops can swim. A scallop does not swim like a fish though. First it opens its two shells and then it snaps them together quickly. This gets the scallop where it wants to go. When you find a shell, carefully look inside. It will probably be empty. If a shell is empty, it may mean the animal has died or it has outgrown its shell and left it behind. If the animal is at home, you can watch it for a while. See if you can tell how it eats. How does it move? What does it do when it feels frightened? When you go, leave the animal where you found it. Animals are happiest in their natural surroundings. If a shell is empty, you can take it home with you. If you're looking at shells in a state or national park, be sure to ask a ranger or game warden before you take any shells home. Try to find as many different kinds of shells as you can. Whether the shells you find are big or small, plain or fancy, remember, a shell is someone's home. The end. I love you guys. Bye-bye.